So I wonder what you're going to spend your time and resources on in 2021. Our New Year's resolutions may reflect this as the things that we really want to get sorted. What do we want to change from how we're living in 2020? What can we change that we have control over? And perhaps more importantly, how do we want to respond differently to those things that we can't change or control? How should we respond if God is Lord of our lives, if he is the boss, the one in charge, the one who comes first? Remembering it's not because he needs us to put him first, but because to live life in all its fullness, as Jesus promised we could if we followed him, we need to put God first. So, what do you want your legacy to be in 2021? The world is constantly pushing us to achieve more, to do more, to want more, to spend more. But this forgets that we're human beings, not human doings, and fullness of life does not come from achieving a perfect house or a fitter body or ticking off an amazing bucket list, but becoming step by step the person God intended for us to be. And our Bible story is based on Matthew 6 and reminds us that we have a God who loves us more than the birds of the air or the lilies of the field. We've just celebrated Jesus coming to earth at Christmas. And now that that's over, let's not throw him away with the wrapping paper, but spend our time and energy getting more familiar with how he taught us to live and how he showed us how to live. He showed us how to be and how to do. We have his life to look at, to emulate, and we have his instructions on how to live. In this great teaching from the Sermon on the Mount, which you can read in Matthew 5-7, Jesus teaches us how to live. I love it because it's so practical. At the beginning of chapter 6, he says he expects us to be humble and not show off, to give generously of our time and money to those in need, to pray regularly and genuinely to God for our needs, to fast. There might be something new for there to try in 2021, or to find out how these things bring us into a deeper communion with God. Last year as a church, one of the readings that was significant to us was from Jeremiah, where it said, stand at the crossroads and look for the ancient paths. What are the paths that will hold us in this particular time and place? And as we search for how to live in a pandemic and how to live in 21st century society, God guides us to seek these ancient wisdoms, to stay close to him. Simple living, generosity to others, prayer and action. And Fern is going to read to us now a specific part of Matthew 6. I think she's coming. There she is. Hi, Fern.
Today's reading is Matthew 6, 19 to 24, 33. Do not store up for yourselves the treasure on earth, where moth and vermin destroy, where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, your heart will be also. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, then your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate one and love the other, or you will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. But seek first God's kingdom and his righteousness, and all of these things will be given to you as well. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Thank you, Fern. That was great. Really good. So this is my treasure box. Can you see it? It's got a beautiful, beautiful lid. Very special. And the memories of most of the important parts of my life are in this box. So all the best bits. Sadly, it's not full of valuable jewellery or things I could sell, but I wouldn't sell these things anyway. I have a beautiful necklace that David, my husband, bought when we first went out. There's lots of things like this, special cards that my children have given me, their birth tags. my dog tags from when I had dogs, a bracelet that one of them's made them, and lots of cards from other people, things that I treasure, people that I've been with. They're so important to me. Children, do you have a treasure box? Do you have a special box where you put special things? If so, you might like to write or draw or put some things in there of things that you'd like to have this year. And don't think about the obvious things, the stuff you didn't get for Christmas. I know some children are already putting their orders in for next year. But perhaps the people or the places, perhaps things you haven't been able to do this year that you would really treasure. You could make a new box if you like and put some things in there. And Jesus tells us to store our treasures up, not here on earth, where thieves may steal them, or moths or vermin, or we could say virus destroy them, but in heaven, where nothing can steal or destroy them. Can we have the PowerPoint, Ben, please? I think there's a PowerPoint coming. There might not be. Oh, there is. Fantastic. Thank you. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So what sort of treasure does Jesus want us to keep? He's not even talking about the sort of treasure that I've got there. And it's important to plan this carefully, because we'll put time and effort and money into those things we treasure or prioritize. These are the things that are really important to us. Jesus says where our heart is. And by heart, he means our total self. Where is my heart? What am I storing up? What am I buying? What am I doing? What am I thinking about? Am I prioritizing the right things to spend my money, time and effort on? Do I need any more stuff? Is another 50 hours watching box sets or TV what I want to do with one of my most precious resources of time? What is going to get the best of me in 2021? Am I going to save myself or lose myself over the handling of my money and possessions? And then we have eyes. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole being will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. To make the point again about using our resources wisely, Jesus talks about our eyes being the lamp of the body. This was a common pre-modern understanding of vision, that the eyes were like a lamp that shone or looked out onto objects. And in this context, it relates how we look at matters of money and property. It's not about vision. Do we see these things with God's eyes? Do we think about these things with God's eyes or God's thoughts? Are we generous to those in need, or do we see with worldly eyes, keeping our money to buy all the things we want to? Who are we most influenced by? The Bible or the endless stream of advertising that is all around us? It's a constant pressure that we need to be aware of. Are we in control of our eyes, or are they in control of us? Are we looking at stuff, or are they influencing our thinking and our doing? Are our eyes leading us towards heaven, here and now, or taking us off track? And all this is about money. And there's just one final verse specifically on money, not because it isn't important, but because it's such a straightforward choice. And there's nothing wrong with money per se. In fact, it can do a huge amount of good, as we've seen in the last year. There's been some spectacular generosity, as well as lots of very small but significant gifts of giving. And I nearly put here that you can love money, but you have to love God more. But then I realised that isn't what Jesus is saying. Jesus makes the presumption that in our lives we will choose to serve or chase something. And we have to choose whether that's going to be God or money or something else. Or more properly translated, property and wealth, mammon. And this is because money and God have such very different priorities. And we know that if we think about our world, our society, we're living in a society where the cheapest or the most efficient option is often chosen. And people just say, well, that's cheapest. They don't think about whether that's better or not. Choose what's cheapest over and above what is best. Just imagine for a moment if our NHS was fully run on what was best, if our social care was organised what was best for those who are elderly or frail, if Grenfell was clad in what was best. Jesus said it's a choice. You can't serve both. God must come first, not just in lip service, but by the decisions we make on a daily basis. That applies to everything really, but Jesus is pointing out here that the love of money is a particular danger. In the ruthless elimination of hurry, Mark Comer talks of the decisions we make on spending and buying, affecting our lives deeply. Not just in the outlay, not just in what we won't be able to give to or buy because we've spent our money on this particular thing, but on the ongoing upkeep and attention that our possessions need. So our message for this year is not hands, space, face, although please do keep doing them because they're really, really important. Not hands, face, space, but treasure, eyes, money. As Christians, do we ensure that our treasure, eyes, and money decide our priorities? We live in a society of numerous choices, even in a pandemic, and Jesus is highlighting the importance of our priorities, and the central priority has to be God himself. There's no questions about the importance of putting God first to Jesus, not because he needs us to, but because we need to if we're going to have a chance of being the best that we can be. However, there is a catch. Because God is so gentle, so kind and so loving, and he wants us to serve him with our own free will, he will never force us. Otherwise, it's not love. But we can be too easily distracted by so many other things. And often, none of those things are bad in themselves, although sometimes they are. And if you know that you have something that's really bad and damaging you, please do get in touch with Dan or myself or someone else from church that you trust, because there is help for those things. Often they're not bad in themselves, but these distractions seem to grow more and more the more time and money we have available. Will we look back on 2021 and think we put our energy in the right place, or will we regret the time and money spent? And I think the answer is in verse 33. Often we jump to the end of this chapter about the do not worry in verse 34. But in 33 it says, but strive first for the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and these things will be given to you as well. This reflects the way of living that we talked about earlier, the first commandment to love God, and echoes, of course, the 10 commandments. So how can we do this? How can we learn to live in the presence of our loving Heavenly Father more? By giving him our time and money first rather than last. It doesn't say all, it says first. Not waiting till we have nothing else to do before we say hello, or fitting him in around our busy schedules, but ensuring our schedules and lifestyle have regular spaces where we've booked him in. And you may have to book him in if you're that sort of person. Perhaps first thing in the morning, that first bit of free time we get in the day before we look at our phones or check the news. Perhaps a prayer at lunchtime just to refocus. Perhaps sometime in the evening to review the day with him. Now, if you're a carer or a 12-hour shift worker, then cut yourself some slack here. God knows you are hard pushed at present. Do talk to him on the job if you can, even if it's only to cry for help. And remember, when you get a moment, not to fritter it away, but to turn to him however tired you are, even if it's just to rest your head momentarily on his lap before you go again. And let everything you do be for him. Yeah, even that nappy or those bins, and him alone. But don't beat yourself up if you're one of those people at the moment or through this year has been so very hard pressed. But do know he's there and he loves you. We need to get our priorities right for our time and money, to truly find God for ourselves. And we're going to listen now to a song that helps us to think about making room for God in our hearts now.